Hey everybody, I figured I'd make a quick video on scenario building. It allows oneself to separate from your emotions and to expand the mind. So I figured I'd give you an example. So at the very least it'll also help you to think about certain things that may end up coming around and allow you to have the right mindset for when it happens. I like to at least scenario build with the quote-unquote apocalypse. So, how would I rebuild a scenario here? How would I rebuild society? First, you have to have an area to which society would want to build around, that they would want to be civil. So you would have to have main sources of food, water, and some kind of form, if not healthcare, protection from the elements as well as in general from any possible dangers. That's something you definitely want. So the first thing I would say, at least out here in Kansas, I would find me a nice hill, put up some fortifications with a family member out here, work together on that night and day until we got this fortification set. We already have enough food stocked up that we'd be able to keep ourselves sated for that entire time. From then on, we would try to, after setting up fortifications, then work to getting things planted, finding animals to herd, finding good grazing lands, etc. Once you start having these kinds of things, it'll attract people. However, you also have to keep in mind you have to have a selection process. There's going to be people you're going to deal with that will be perfect, that not only do they need your help, but they have good things and goodness about them. Problem though, you're also going to come across a lot of people who like to use others, who like to just abuse the good deeds of others. You're going to have to sort those ones out, and obviously in a non-lethal way. You can't just be fucking judge, jury, and executioner. You have to actually be diplomatic. And just tell them to hit the road, Jack. Like, hey, we'll give you one last meal, and you gotta get going, because we're not gonna take care of your ass, and you're not gonna be our master, and you're not gonna be our slave. It's not gonna work that way. That's not gonna how this shit, none of that. So, with all that aside, selection process is definitely a big thing that you would have to take into your own considerations. My personal considerations would be starting with the basic things of commandments. If they're someone who follows by, even if they're not Christian, if they follow by a basic set of rules and commandments in and of themselves, and they don't have a duplicity about them where they require other people to have standards that they themselves do not keep. If they're not like that kind of individual, fuck them. If it's like a type of individual who does hold up to their own standards and keep others to that same standard, that's someone you can deal with. That is someone you can work with. Now, moving along, then you have to deal with other forms of security. You have to have a form of police/military. And in my opinion, because again, when it comes to any society, that is something that is required to keep it safe from outside forces who wish to make you slaves. You have to have the ability to make formations, to find brotherhood, sisterhood, whatever it may be. And those people have to be trained with you on your fighting styles. They have to know how you fight, how they fight. Y'all have to know how to work cohesively together. You have to know how to communicate in a form of battle. You need to know whether or not you guys are going to be defenders or aggressors. In my opinion, I'm a defender. I prefer, diplomacy, and at the final stand, defense. That's my way of thinking, that's my way of doing. The only time I ever think of aggression is if I'm dealing with a bunch of slave keepers, like a bunch of people who decide they want to bring back slavery. Yeah, well, I'll deal with that problem when it comes. Till then, it's all about diplomacy. You have to understand that that's why they're having such divisions nowadays, so that people will be more inclined to fight each other than to talk. More inclined to be at war than be at peace. Find peace, and it is best through the Lord. I promise you that. Last but not least, when it comes to diplomacy, once you start to build up an actual society little by little, the best society is one that is cohesive with its neighbors. Love thy neighbor. Really love thy neighbor. If you're dealing with people who might be schmucks, who are greedy, who will do anything they can to stab you in the back, they're not a loving neighbor, and therefore you don't have to love them, and nor do you have to deal with them either. But if you're dealing with people that they're just assholes or they're culturally different than you, don't make them your enemy. Learn them, learn their ways, be friends with them, make allyship. Think of my words. God bless, good luck.